One of my favorite characters and books in the Bible is Nehemiah. I find Nehemiah to be such an interesting personality, such an example of what leadership looks like. And I find the book itself to be such a treasure trove of wisdom on how to approach achieving your goals, especially when facing challenging situations, like we see in the case of Nehemiah and his team when they were trying to rebuild the wall of their hometown. If you're a Christian, then you're most likely familiar with that story where Nehemiah had gone back to his hometown to build the broken down walls. And as he was trying to press towards that goal, he faced various types of opposition from people who did not want that wall to be built, from all sort of discouragement to them trying to send letters, fake letters of slander to the king, to them trying to attack them. There was just all sorts of things that came up that at every point in time would have made it, in fact, would have given Nehemiah and his team a legitimate reason not to press towards their goals. However, there is one part of the story that every time I read, I'm always like, look, as people, if we are going to achieve our goals, one of the things that we must become is people who are flexible. It is often said that be adamant about your goal, but be flexible about the methods to your goal. When a time came when Nehemiah and his team were facing this opposition, they then had to pivot, had to switch, had to look for a way to ensure that they were still able to continue building while also being able to navigate the challenges and the opposition they were facing. So they separated, the builders. Half of them became those who were warriors, carried weapons, being the defense system. The other half were walking on the wall. But guess what? Even as they were walking with one hand and they were holding their weapon with another hand. These men were so adaptable. They were so flexible that even when a situation came that should have made them completely give up, in fact, some of them were getting discouraged. And Nehemiah had to remind them, your why. You're doing this for your family. You're doing this for the dignity of your hometown. You're doing this for this and this reason. And so instead of them trying to say, look, the only way that we can build is if we are all using our two hands at the same time. After all, that's how it should be done. They came up with a different method, a different strategy that helped them to still continue on their process. Being adaptable is such an important character trait if you are going to achieve your goals. Why? Life will throw curveballs. Challenges will come. Obstacles will come. While you need to remain committed to your goals. For me, for example, when I was working towards my PhD, there were everything that could happen to ensure that I never made it to that goal happened. While I remained committed to my goal of earning my PhD, at every single point in time, I had to always go back to the drawing board and say, okay, this particular situation that has shown up in this particular semester, in this particular time, this is the way I would be able to navigate my research. These are the things that I have to prioritize. These are the things that I have to put on the back burner. These are the things that I can only do. These are the things that I cannot do. At every point in time, when one challenge came or the other, even within the research, I'm saying, oh, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. This is the framework I want to do. Then I start and, maybe my professor or someone or, I hit a roadblock and it's like, oh, what do I do? I remained committed to my goal of what I wanted to accomplish. But because of flexibility, because of the muscle of adaptability, I was able to go back and then say, what other way How else can I do this? And this sometimes is a question a lot of us do not ask. That when we hit the first roadblock, when we hit the first obstacle or challenging situation in the pursuit of our goal, we shut things down. We take that as a signal to give up, to quit. Look, I firmly believe that there is a way out for everything and of everything. For me to get to a point where I say, look, there is no way out. Listen, I have come through multiple ways. In fact, one of my top strengths on the Clifton Strength Finders is strategic. I have intellectual and I have strategic as my top two. Because of that strength, it is very easy, or let me not say it's very easy. One of the ways my mind is primed to work is always thinking of multiple pathways, what is the strategy? If strategy A doesn't work, then there's got to be strategy B. If strategy B doesn't work, there's got to be strategy C. Before we hit A to Z, we will find a way. So yes, you need to be committed. You need to be focused. You need that commitment to your goal, but you should also be the type of person who can bend without breaking. Flexibility is not compromise. Compromise has to do with your values, right? Flexibility is not saying that, oh, because I want to be flexible, then you compromise your morals, you compromise your ethics. That's not what it is. If you compromise your values and your ethics to get something, you will have to keep remaining in compromise to maintain that thing. Rather, flexibility is saying, adaptability is saying, even if I have to build with one hand and hold a weapon with the other, even if this is not how I planned it to be, even if this is not how I hoped for it to be, and this is one of the things that stop a lot of people. You create a dream plan. You think you can control everything. You want to be in control of the entire process. You create a dream plan. And when things are not going according to the dream plan, you find it difficult. No. An audacious person, or a person who will achieve audacious goals, is a person who is flexible. So today, those goals, those places, those pathways that you're currently, treading on, the dreams that you have, where it might look like you've hit a roadblock, you've hit an obstacle, you've hit a door that has been closed. Sometimes it's okay to retreat so you can reset, to retreat so you can re-strategize. As long as you keep your mind open and you operate from that possibility mindset, look, you give yourself the room for, that flexibility, the room for you to be able to ask questions that say, how else can we do this? How else can I achieve this? There are many ways. They always say, there's a proverb that says there are many ways to a river. There are many ways to achieve your goals. And my hope for you is that you do not allow the roadblock that you hit on one way to stop you. You have it within you to go ahead, look for another way, look for a second way, look for a third way, look for a fourth way. Ask people, seek mentors, seek advice, do research. But all of these things can only be done if you are a person who have come to an understanding that, look, I need to remain adamant about my goals, but flexible about my methods. Till next time, stay blessed, stay well, and keep blooming.